Hi everyone, I'm going to read a little section of my book that is called White Clouds. It starts with the art director, that is the first book. Then we have the game director, the sound director, the Vox director, the director of the lives, and the life directors. Sorry, I forgot also the minds director. It's a series of books that explain about my biography, becoming a cinematographer and working as a camera operator until the final realization through the perspective of the various people that were combined into my life and then make it possible. Specifically, a violinist that it was living in the nearby of the place where I lived, the in meeting with an art director that was Kevin Stewart, who also given the name to me because we were having a relationship together, and then following up with the talks about the sound director that is Dino De Meritos, and it was like in a DJ set, and Nicolas Fortebracci, which was basically the guy that inspired the figure of this fashion designer as well as the drum bassist musician. What I had to tell about this story is that there are different characters in which the book is dedicated, and those characters are having every one of them carry out a social topics, especially when we go across Arthur Rupik. There was my ex, and it was effectively also a Polish home seeker. And then we have a different various topics that are talking about the art, but also economical, political situation that grows up from 2014 again arriving to 2024, and even so 10 years and almost 1 century of our history that is replaced, and it's in a way narrated by the following up and the various situation that happened during this period. um, I want to dedicate this book to all the people that, of course, are embracing that made part of my life, that make me grow. I don't have that much, but what I can say is that I became rich inside because they gave me knowledges, professionalism. They give me cultures over part also of the music history that I didn't know, from the knowledge me of Tom Waits, Nick Caves to Johnny Cash and others. And I became more powerful in the rock and hardcore knowledge in, as well as in the rapping background, because of the people that of course correlated this sort of growing up until the maximum phase and matureness of this girl into the figure of the cinematographer. Then we have more difficult themes, like the plagiarism that is represented by my ex-export agent in the United States that I met when I was in London. And I mean, I had a conversation through by calling when I was in London. Then we were meeting up in the following days in other part of city of Italy, including Milan. And in a way, it was possible to get a connection. Um, it's incredibly full of characteristics, full of circumstances that occurs to this poor lady that I reckon as a third person. Incredible fact that are driving her crazy during the presence in Berlin as well, unfortunately, that I had to adapt to my curriculum as well because of the in the situation that occurs me, unfortunately, and that could happen to anyone, but running the risk of my life. And that ended up in making me a woman 360 degrees, I guess. But I would love to represent these repercussion and these books as a form of representation of what it could happen to any woman actually that is dealing with leadership and is dealing with directing, and is always have to make a sort of compromise between being wise and at the same times to transfer her own will to the other people, which is of course sometimes um, difficult, and I will say also imperimposing self, overimposing ourselves in some situation where you are struggling to get the attention can become rudeness, and you can always run the risk to be misinterpreted, misunderstood. Um, but this is the battle and the game over there, especially when you are embracing a difficult career that occurs with freelancing and with the opening of a personal business, and you don't have all the knowledges and the expertise of a producer. I want to. You can find directly. I mean, this book on Amazon is available under Sarah Novi Stewart, White Clouds, the art director. You can buy it if you want to make a contribution to me. It will take €4 of your wallet, and I think that is an incredible possibility that you could also have knowledges of. Cinematography of a dark room, everything that is integrated in the book is always full of content and full of knowledge of the world outside. So it's not just a simple narrative. You can also get some career topic more explained than others, which is, I think, an advantage for a person that is interested into this field. And on the other end, it's an opportunity also for to develop social problematics like anorexia, to talk about how could a person live with this illness, how could it feel. And there are cryptodicism, which is a genetical problems to the testicula explained. So there are very sexual medical references as well, but to the discrimination of how these people could feel during this process of life, the homosexuality represented by Nicholas, and then we have also the Dino's Demeritos problems of drug addiction. So it's a wonderful journey that describes an entire generation. And I will say, read it, please. But I also will take occasion here to read for you a passage so you could be interested and involved in getting it. I forgot to mention in all of this that the chapter that those books are formed by are inspired by musicians like Tom Waits in the case of Kevin Stewart, and Francesco, who has this extreme passion and fulguration for Ennio Morricone. Then you had Dino De Maritos, that was always supported and accompanied by the NDC and his performative sound electronic. And then we have more Nicolas Torrebracci, that it was effectively transcendent with a new age style, particularly related to lo funk. To arrive in a certain moment to a contemporary growing up of Sarah that finally is going to narrate the story from her perspective with the music of Skank and Ensing, more sort of Indo folk, which she's something that she's really attached to. Then we have the chapter of this lawyer in New York City that are more spread with the lyrics of Frank Sinatra's title and other references to Fabrizio De Andrés. Is a very filmic cinematographical book that has the characteristic of a 4D animated element, which gives you fragrance and a lot of description of how the words interact around. There is a sort of touchability and materialistic side in those books that makes her intriguing. I will say that also Berlin is represented from the perspective of this Italian girl, and not only for the language that has to integrate for the language, because that is really just one part. more of the mentality, because Berlin is not the rest of Germany. So you had really to embrace this competitional international scenario where there are a lot of very mixed cultures coming from Munich or Magdeburger or Hamburger that also see the city in a different way, more mischievous, lascivious, if you will say, clumsy, and typical sluggard of Germany, I will say. But it's very dramatic. There are a lot of parts that makes the drama real, but I always, in this case, I mention I, because me and Sarah are different people in these books. The Sarah that I am now doesn't correspond to all the 7 books. Definitely, when we are in the future, we finally found a meeting point, but also a compromise. So it's more my story and narrated from the perspective of the people that surrounded my life, and at the same time is reporting the factual that they were occurring to. So it's a intricate dynamic, and I basically work on this book more than 15 years, I have to tell you. This is a masterpiece that I love to turn maybe in life into a film. I don't know, but I'm proposing it to the Nobel Prize as well of literature, and that's why I work more than others on my knowledges of languages and communication. I hope that you enjoyed this passage, and I hope that you could find a way in this link to buy it for me. So we start the reading of the chapters of my books that could be interesting for you to get a little bit of the sense of style, and also the going on of, in a sense, and the narratives of this book. And we started with a little bit of Bologna side. That's what I learned from my country art and from my background and surroundings. The chapter is called Whistling Past the Graveyard. The crowd was unusual, uncontainable. Cinema's ritrovato ordinary projection could definitely contain a few resonance that it was effectively considered one of the most infervorating moments in all the Italian procrastination. A touristic flock of continuous revival. There was no point to wait for having the top proprietarian seats, since it was strategically and ravenously impossible to book them. Most the Americans coming from a business advantage country were definitely able to succeed from this point of view. Me, I just considered the ladder under the vault of Piazza Maggiore, right in front of the dome, the only possible absolution, once I noticed the presence of another homeless, hilarious, curly gray-haired pale sitting comfortably staring to the majestic representation with an authentic promiscuous attraction for the blasphemy. I couldn't stop staring at him, a bit also compassion and entertained by his compulsory punctuation. Borghese del cazzo! He exploited another bottle of Peroni with his dirty hands, and I just made another observation without completely looking at his side, just not to sound abruptly intrusive. Sono soliti esserlo dal momento che è una manifestazione italiana drive-in e del tutto corrispondente ai loro ideali tradizionalisti hollywoodiani. He started drinking another float of Peroni with a sudden interest into my unexpected words. Brava, selvaggia con i capelli stirati da borghese, e farsi una bella sega potrebbe concludere le tue stesse problematiche. It was not hilarious that I wasn't even able to reply, with his eyes blue, betraying eyes brightening such as new component embedded sapphire stones. But from the audacious fugacity and the unpredictable, absurd behavior, he literally raided me with inappetent attitude. Looking at the situation from an external perspective, the trafficated area literally upset me. I was awkwardly paralyzed by those gatherments of people, a flocking parade with their continuous wave of indulgence, their unexpected, unpredictable, floaty excitement. But of Kevin there was no presence at all. My heart was pulsating, so that I couldn't resist effectively to their conglomeration. It made, from my point of view, fatigue, shocked, disorder, and in complete exceptional distress. I was prioritizing a guy over a film pellicula, so I decided to completely divert my mind from that unclever process. During the projection, I went on checking out the other people, but I just wasn't able to notify him that incredible amount of different personality. Soon as I watched the sliding images with the eyes of the Dr. Ferocious looking at those couple of guys, escaping from his grasp, and especially the bald experiment, I remained completely cathartically involved, at the point of being automatically persecuted by these ferocious images of such a screaming creature, more than a murderous doll. The sarcastic age, which was evidently characterized in his face, made it everything gigantic and unproportionate at the highest level. Assisting at those multitude of subjects not even able to understand the complexity of that film from one side made me stick to the other one, I was completely indulged and massively surprised to be set in those enlightening historical revenue. Suddenly I got incredible instant goosebumps. My heart was falling in love with those black and white vintage recordings. Soon as they were about to disclose the rest of the chapter, suddenly I saw two handsome different sides and a guys coming closer, wandering around with a set of unsolved, two handsome different sides and high guys coming closer, wandering around for a sense of unsolved incredible loss. The appreciating smile on their face let me no chance than standing up and getting closer to them to observe if Kevin might have been the one dressing with those interesting white jacket and very elegant brown cardigan luxuriously parading the branding sign of Burberry over the top in the lateral side, exactly at the junction with his right shoulder. I'm on my experience. I never had been complicit to see such to such a highly questionable and fashionable personality. Soon he saw me and he was able to observe that I was present and he caught me completely unprepared. I was about to slide down and face the cup of invitation. But that didn't happen since he collected me by taking himself from my arm while he was specifically looking at me and driving the attention also of his flatmates on me, with his glamorous airs arriving to his shoulder as a perfect Nirvana's listener, and his radiant bluish turkey, incomparable penetrating pervasive eyes, his jaguar, perfect and muscular, well-designed emulated muscle. I couldn't do anything but observing his grounding profusion in observing and getting full potential of my own most secluded desires. Little Butterfly, the other sympathetic guys with a sort of unexpected intention invaded my space to make me feel even much more participant than before looking them at the distance. Was supposed to be Dino, with that similar features to Lion's Pain, One Direction, perfect facial identification. I just admired his curly black hair, since I was evidently uncertain that he was coming from the south of Italy with his Alp Naples accent, even in the strange alternation inflection is elocution and diction. My name is Dino. He grabbed my hands in sign of total respect. Dino de Merito. I was blessed by his sincere, honest, and genuine gesture that I wasn't even able to add something else to his cathartic observation in considering there was as much as intelligent and not in need of a kiss palm hand, such as Kevin undoubtedly did from that point of view. I was finding myself in constant ease and comfort with his maybe Spanish look, able to conquer even the most secluded heart in Bologna. Sono messicano. So che I miei lineamenti possono trarre in inganno. As soon as he answered with his unexpected observation, I was frantically involved and unexpectedly endeavoring that kind of expression arrived me straightly consuming and even more evident than what I collected from Kevin's confrontation, who by the way got the occasion to speak first in my place and replaced the answer he was going to give me. Sarah is taking a degree at a school university in Bologna of foreign languages. She received a positive answer. She's going to be present with me at the major, attending the place exactly next to me. So what do you think about this? Quite right. I think you will have a couple of complications with Kevin, Sarah. It's not easy at all to deal with him all day. I can literally state that he's a particular subject. Individual always looking for enormous, outrageous, harsh confrontation. Believe me, I'm going to be impassive, watching things from all this perspective. I see. What about you, Kevin? Would you be able to be a supported classmate? Come on, we don't have the same time schedule. Sarah is always studying Japanese literatures in the meantimes and German. We will have a French course in common, English literature phonology, as we got to enter deep also into translation process. Oh, interesting. Why did you pick the Japanese language? Soon as I realized Dino was questioning me and also discussing my choice, a negligent sensation of not having completely evaluating the whole possibility invaded me. But at the same time, the exclusive passion for anime and Kanji's comical perception was something which gave me the quiet right to reply to his invasive consideration. Soon as I faced him again, standing up to him with an improportioned smile, he just appreciated the fact that I was so touched at all, also able to be more explosive and characterized by positive gasoline. Soon as Kevin caressed my right arm, noticing that I was wearing a beige oversized complete cloth, he just admired the invoice workmanship by letting himself even reach in the pocket of my elegant elastic tracksuit, taken from Zara, with a gesture of seduction completely invested into the hidden pocket. Oh, Pischelli, come on, come si dice a Roma, io penso che andrò ad accappiare un po' di amici in giro al circolo. Kevin's expression was very talkative. Since Dino desired to flee and take refuge into the massive crowdfunding, overwhelming people, fragmenting and brightly shining to the circuit of other crowd, it also incentivized the friend to go on for his side and separate from us absurdly, in a sort of interstellar disappearance, but reserving to shake his hand into the open air, looking straightly to me with a surprising collateral beauty. Did you make an agreement with him or something? Since I can't define his retention and resignation in joining us. He hugged me suddenly, covering my hands with his intense, warm grasp, while I was rubbing against his fabric and suffocating, exciting perfume and fragrance, letting myself completely seduced and unlighted. There was something unexpectedly fresh, sparkling, a mixture of white musk, again and Tesori d'Oriente's illogical essence, which entitled me of a surprising reaction. Achoo! I sneezed at the opposite side. I was directing my eyes, totally underwhelmed by its precious reticence and explicable glowing gaze. Did I ever tell you that it's very rude to sneeze at someone? I bit his arm again, also getting a sign of protuberance, ignominious distance with the hope to receive a questioning emanation's consideration, but it didn't happen. Sarah, don't be so touchy. I'm just conveying you don't know how to behave yourself. It's the second time I told you to avoid public demonstration of affection, especially considering the fact that there is nothing between us. Kevin gently cuddled my back and trying to get in a flirty mood by also moving out my long brown hair with an unnoticed and remarkable profusion of sexual tension, even more invigorated by his robust and engaging gesture. What are you doing again with my hairs? I just tied them up, such that you would never be completely able to carry out. I was embarrassed, but I couldn't stop staring at the film. And in that turment hardening ground, the Spavaldius homeless looking at his Peroni and frightening against others surrounding other to keep his space absurdly clean with a voracious, unstable, intense, courteous galactic sign of disapproval for all those popular amount of people, looking at the somnambulous Clemens arrive and came out with this sentence. It will be fine. I can assure that. What? You were worried about that homesick. I can see you're quite humanitarian, but you don't need to be so melodramatic. In the end, this is environment. Nothing has to retain you from thinking differently. Some people are quite indisposed, unwell, and incapacitated, but not that sarcastic bastard. You can even perceive from the way he's trying to observe the environment around that it was the right credential to survive, but if you were now in his circumstances, you would have not been able to dig a spider out of the hole. His conversative way of sweetly observing provoking an enormous click into personality in order to operate over my own reaction and provoking my ego was effectively working as promised. Can you just explain to me what makes you think that I'm so incapable of taking care of myself? Oh no, I don't think you cannot even become talented in surviving. I just stated that you should be aware of watching your back. Indeed, why you didn't wear the garment I bought for you? Because whatever you're doing for me, it seems such as you got the magical solution you are going to save me from my own personality in obscure and negative performances, where actually it won't be the case. I am able to overcome any kind of distress and even evolving, trying to adapt the most inadequate situation. Even though you will find me so irresistible in those clothes, that doesn't imply I'm forced to wear it for your own pleasure. I'm not your property. His irritated jiggle was venturing into a deep level of pleasurable, unfriendly incapacity to seduce me totally, frictioning with my own ego, but at the same time, facing the battle in a good position of defender, also a bit annoying and demolishing the conflict I was living, unsurmountable and abruptly eradicated in myself. The sensation of not being enough, the sensation of failing apart, not revisiting, consider all the possible options on the table. Kevin, where are you escaping? Surprisingly and floatily irresistible, elegantly dressed, with a high-brided cardigan, very fashionable, promiscuous, unobtainable, vanaglorious, sophisticated, and luxurious lady, with red continental orange flesh long hairs, was coming out. By whistling her hands across him with her high, 175 centimeter silhouette in her pompous courtier hat, unbelievably frenetic, at the same time very attentive at pointing on everything was happening around her. With a grimace, soon uploaded answer of my cantankerous and very hazard promiscuous tendency towards Kevin. Not intention, but soon revealed mostly evident. What were you doing? She claimed at her inquiry very spitefully, but concisely. Kevin declared through with a renovated, irresistible replace and winking, frustrated intention. Come on, Angie, get off me. It's not the case. I never noticed I was seriously driven by hatred for Satan. I step up on my side and I notice that she's obviously tries as much as possible to overimpose her presence, such as it was necessary to radically impose her figure in order to sway Kevin's attention from me. I started panicking since I found myself in the middle of a chess battle, which I didn't want effectively to conduce. Immediately the situation was gravitating around them, and I contained my lines, since she was even able to bump into my space. What's your name, darling? She suddenly appeared like she was able to cover with a more effective consideration, which indeed wasn't all expressed by Kevin, who every time interrupted me just to avoid unpleasurable confrontation. Angie, Sarah? Sarah, Angie. Can you please easy up? I don't like when you jump out of the box without even considering the tone of your voice. You're speaking quite loudly. Oh, don't consider me, Sarah. Sometimes it could be very misleading to speak with him because it makes you feel at the center of the world, especially in bed. It was an amused, relevant quality that literally nobody could live without. In being a girl, surely you will express your own exigencies quite easily. Is able to solve them in a blink of an eye. Wow. She crowded and originated a very irritating and feverish and present behavior, generated a complicity and conspiration and torment and miserable reaction. Kevin, who effectively knew her very well and sounded quite irritated and neurologically lost in his temper. Angie. Oh, don't worry. I don't consume with Kevin. Yes, he could appear a very good looking, convincing, and naturally passionate guy, but at the end, when I conversate with him, we almost ended up to conversate on cabbage, vegetables, spending the rest of your days comparing yourself to a pyrotechnic when he's literally a firefighter, a fireman, basically. Oh, I like her sarcasm. Me too. He looked at me with his curious expression while she was hanging over him with the arm, and I was basically concerned in my position. So, Sarah, tell me, where is your night for tonight? Where is your news for tonight? Where is your night for tonight? Kevin lifted up the pupils on air, completely out of place, such as me, as he couldn't bear a secondary locution and inquisition. You are very kind to think that I will be picked up by a gentleman, but can you see the guy over there sitting onto the main vault ladder? And she started appearing confused, switching her attention from one person to another with a very enthusiastic frown and scowl in a more pathetic mannerism. Do you mean the elegant boy with sandal and that straw hat would be another American? Oh no, if you move your attention even more on what we used to call slugger over then, complaining about the whole amount of sophisticated, high qualified society people presenting to projection and not even knowing what's the topic of the evening and what's the meaning behind the somnambul's revisitation, well, I think to be in perfect symphony with his own thoughts actually is the best companion I ever had. She shut up with a pale expression, incredibly springy and scattering face, so that even Kevin looked at her, a bit amused and secretly hiding his influential and powerful consideration, bringing my hand, at the same time inviting me to follow him. Dino showed him straightly next to her side, and veiled and without resignation, she just collected her avoidance and she was able to attack me or something similar, since she remained definitely paralyzed by my answer, which wasn't intending to hurt her, but to stop analyzing my own personal definitely my own persona, definitely paralyzed by my answer, and with that revolting examination. Angie, Dino is in incredible need of making a great appearance in front of Supernova new sexy type. Why don't you help him around? She composed her with a very arrogant gesture, also paying attention to the strolling stones with a very compassionate expression. And Dino, in the meantime, was winking at me without a real explanation. While they were siding themselves apart, I noticed his nervous attitude and having such prima donna around, always launching deep stereotype right, line direction, light shadow gaze and expression over me. Sarah, Kevin's voice comforting surrounding my shoulder while he was trying to penetrate into my indescribable feelings consume me. Sorry for the inconvenience. Angie came back from Canada. She had a casting job in Milan for a couple of weeks, but instead of remaining the whole journey there, she decided to visit me, so I couldn't imprison her into apartment even though I was tempted. She just tried another time over me, but I cannot force her to get out of my space so easily. Um, Man, listen to me. We are all busy living our life. This girl could sound chemically unbalanced, but we can't do nothing because we. I moved my finger towards him and me twice. Don't exist. I just defended myself because where the hell it's written that female and women are first to take on the male companion in order to arrive punctual at a cinematic event where you and other American tourists are invading our area without even knowing without respecting um, without even having a respect of what you're throwing onto the square. Similar, very similar to the tourist. I pick another can soon as I find his very confused and judgy expression, having concern for my own emotional breakdown. You people think that just only because you see a beautiful, nice, kind, wormy, lovely, nice, and immutable lady, you could possess and squeeze without any sort of reservation, also pay indescribable attention to acquire the most fascinating detail, and you just brought the most precious values onto the street without concern. It heightened me impressively without diverting his attention to me. Don't look at me in that way. You made me feel just an impenetrable soul. And she's right. You're trying over me. It's the 5th time your movements are suspicious, and I don't want to play this game. I'm not good at. I like talking with you and sharing, comparing myself. But this whole thing is out of league for me. We are different. Yes, we are. A brief of air was passing through each other. In that moment, I resigned and completely directing my head onto the ground, eclectically amazed and lighted by expressive words which successively came out from his mouth. Doesn't matter. So this is just an extract of the art directors. It's just one side of it. It's the beginning of my study when I was in Bologna. I was a little girl of 18 years old after coming out from anorexia, so it's explicated also the illness, and now I lived unfortunately the situation. I hope that you enjoy, that you give a contribution again into I mean getting out this link, this book, and like downloaded it. In a way, it is now available for Kindle, but it will soon be a publication through the current press.